All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the BLD Financial Podcast. We have a very special guest on today, the less analytical side of the Canadian real estate podcast and business partner to Daniel Foch, Mr. Nick Hill.
Thank you so much. That's I've had a lot of different introductions over the years. That never the less analytical one, which is also very, very true and accurate. But no, I appreciate it, boys. I know we've tried to line this up a couple times, and very happy to be here.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've been following both of you guys for years, and now we all get to work together and collab on events and deals. So very happy to be here.
Yeah, Nick
Dan
has.
did make it out on time to the first one. I'm just saying. It was.
I got here. Hey, you guys said 1:30. I walked in the door at 1:29. Right? I don't know what you want from me. Okay, I'm a busy guy.
Kissing babies, signing autographs.
Something like that. Yeah.
That's right.
Getting stuck in traffic.
It happens to the best of us. You know, it's cool to watch, where you guys are at and what you guys are doing. I know that, we all kind of started around the same
Yeah,
time.
I think so.
You know,
Yeah.
social media became a thing, events became a thing. We've lived through the whole coaching fiasco, and
Still living through it. Yeah.
and things are kind of stabilizing out, and you guys are doing some cool stuff. Why don't you tell audience about who you are, what you do, how you do
Yeah.
it, what's going on?
Appreciate that. Where do I start? Okay, so some people probably know me from the podcast. It's probably the biggest thing that we do. I'll make this a quick story because some people have probably heard it already. But, about 4 or 5 years ago, Dan and I did start a podcast. It was called Brick and Mortar. It was on YouTube. It was, lived in relative obscurity. I think, a couple hundred views max. But we had a lot of fun doing it, and it taught us you guys know the work that goes into putting something like this together, right? And you guys have a way better production quality and everything. This was, over Zoom and that kind of stuff. And it was fun. We made some friends, got some deals done. But we started to, both of our other businesses, I'm a mortgage agent, Dan's a real estate agent. Both of our other businesses started to kind of pick up, and we're like, is this worth it anymore? And just as we had booked our last guest, we had like 3 more people. We were about to stop. We got a call from our now network partners, the Canadian investor, who we were lucky enough and had a cool experience yesterday to just go close down the TSX stock exchange, which was super fun because BMO ETFs is a big sponsor of ours. So we had an opportunity to kind of start a new podcast with a new cadence and a new, just kind of a new way of doing things where we didn't really have a lot of guests on, but we would take any report, any kind of breaking news, and distill those down into 45-minute episodes that people could listen and understand. And we wanted to capture a really wide-ranging audience. So if you're the 20-year-old trying to figure out what the hell to even do, how to break into real estate, we've got beginner episodes for you, right? The 10-step process to buying your first investment. If you are a first-time home buyer that's not even looking at real estate as an investment, you're trying to figure out how to get in, we've got episodes for you. We've got everything from like real estate terminology all the way to more complicated stuff as to like how bond yields affect mortgage rates, affect CMHC, MLS Select, et cetera, et cetera. So our whole goal was to create essentially real estate school. Like if you listen to this, you don't need to listen to anything else. Not, of course, you obviously other than your podcast as well.
Yeah, thank you.
But listen to this one as well. But we just wanted to try to provide as much of a broad strokes coverage for any and all things Canadian real estate. And luckily enough, I think we've done a very good job. It's been very diligent, 2 episodes a week without fail for over 3 years. And that really did change my life a couple of years ago. The podcast, I couldn't believe it, skyrocketed to like #1 in the country overall, which was really crazy. And then we've basically never left the top 25 or 30 top business podcasts in Canada over the last 3 years. So honestly, if I can do it, anyone can. It just really is hard work and consistency.
I'm really appreciating the build-up of our podcast here. Yeah. I mean, there's a science to it, right? Like
there is, yeah.
Especially being in the industry, and I think this is something that Josh and I first went through when you're kind of figuring it out. Is your first instinct is to look at it from a professional, and you're like, you have to overexpose, you have to overexplain, you have to make sure they get all the, the fiduciary responsibility that we owe to make sure, right? And our first few videos. Probably for the first almost a year.
It was so bad.
We
were like, I love it though, right?
It's not that they were bad. It's that we were over explaining. We sat down and we talk about something and we go over for an hour with details, and then talked to like Peter, and he's like, yeah, you know, people don't watch past like 10, 15 minutes of it.
But we don't really get into the good stuff until 30 minutes. Yeah.
But from your mindset, you're like, I have to make sure they get it all because that's my job. And then, you know, you start doing more and more and more, and you realize that you can really boil it down and just get to like enough of that they understand and grasp the concept. And then it's, you know, it's also there for a bit of a business push towards you as well too, obviously,
100%.
right? Like then they have to reach out and, hey, I want to learn more. And it's a great way to network and build it. But it takes a little bit to get used to and build it. But to be able to have, you know, the success that you guys have had, and especially on a topic like mortgage too, like it's just, and kind of like the economy, it's, you know, obviously just shows to you guys' you know, your knowledge and your ability to communicate that well. And I think, you know, we see what you guys do and would love to obviously have the same level of success, and we're trying to get there. But yeah, there's some science to it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think what, and I mean, like, listen, let's be fair. You guys are extremely successible in many different ways, right? Yes, our podcast may be bigger, but you know, you guys.
I think we're 26 and you guys are 25. Like,
is that what it is?
Don't quote us.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think with the podcast space, I think you either do one specific niche and really own that, which you guys have done really well, but your niche is smaller, right? Like, not the guy trying to buy or the girl trying to buy their first duplex might not listen to you because they'll be like, what the hell are these guys talking about? But 2-3 years later, they might come back to you. Whereas we're trying to capture that person and help them with their entire journey, and then, you know, have you guys on and you know, touch on those kind of things a little bit. But, you know, it's really been the coolest thing about it is it went from kind of URL to IRL, right? Mm-hmm. In real life, people were like, we want to have this community outside of just, I know other people are listening, right? We got about 100,000 downloads a month, but like, where are those other people in the province, in the city, in the country? And that, the kind of second piece of the podcast was the in-person events business. And if you told me I'd be in the events business years ago, I would have laughed at you. I still kind of laugh at myself because I'm like, what the hell are we doing in this space? But it really started out of that need and that desire to build a community, both online and in real life, because I think that is real estate at the end of the day, right?
The real estate community thrives on. I mean, you look at just how 100%. Many investing groups have come up and popped up, disappeared, and new ones come up with kind of like, you know, pre-existing members like OREC, ORIA, like all these events that have come up. I mean, there's so many you can go back to, but I think they've always thrived around the communities, and I think that's what makes real estate very interesting and very like unique and niche, is that everyone, for the most part, is always there to help other people. Here's what I've learned. Here's what I've done. Like, here's how you can do better. And I like that about real estate. Like, there is a very cool aspect to it with that community. And where in some of the other finance-oriented type industries, you don't always get that same community. These are my secrets, like, pay to, like, and I mean, there are coaches out there, but it's not the same like open door type come and learn and sit down and let's chat about it.
Well, I think it's a new generation though too. You know, like when we first got into the business, we self-taught ourselves. You know, all of it, because, and like if you go back maybe 5 or 6 years, none of the information that's available now was available before.
Not online. Not maybe online, but in like the deep depths of like the CMHC websites or something. Yeah, bigger. Yeah,
and it was all US based for the most part.
And like, you know, Aaron and I struggled when we first got into the business. We struggled a lot with, you know, do we give up this information? Like, we give
our secrets, our methods.
That's it. Like, do we like very protectionist? Like the people before us didn't want to tell us anything, and like obviously the bank people are hiding it from the people who don't have this crazy net worth. Like, you know, do we give up all this information? And then we realized that, you know, against our better judgment at the time, we did. and you know, you realize that, you know, that sharing that information and sharing that knowledge has created like this community of people who are actually pushing it forward. Like the next generation of people in our industry, you know, late 20s, early 30s, like, you know, we're not hiding that information. You know,
it's open source at this point, right? Do we try to paywall everything, and that's our value prop is, I'm not telling you this unless you sign this LOI or pay me kind of thing, versus, hey, I'm going to put this out there. You're going to look at it and be like, oh, wow, this is actually complicated. I actually do need that power team. You know, one of the things that as we've grown, and Josh, you and I have spoken about this, is who, not how. That's a principle I try to live my life off of, especially as we, as all of us as professionals, and for everyone listening, as you get bigger and better in whatever space you're doing, stop doing all the things. Just do the things that you're good at and go and backfill the rest of that stuff. And for a lot of people, backfilling positions is finding guys like you or guys like me that are, hey, I need help on my mortgage. I need help on my strategy. How do I go from buying duplexes to buying apartment buildings, right? And I think we can kind of come in and be those consultants. And for the most part, we do so much for free. We give so much away. We work for free up until an LOI or something is signed.
Until the day it closes, baby.
Until the day it closes, until the money's in the bank account, we've worked for free, right? So, man, and I know
sometimes the wire's money, and it's still not.
I know we've all got stories about,
still not closed.
There's even
exactly.
2 weeks after it closes where you wonder, you're like,
did I just do that whole thing for free? Damn. Yeah.
It's
the Gary Vee model.
Yeah, I was actually, it's funny you say that. I was just going to bring that up. I remember when we first got into the business, and I remember Gary Vee screaming at me through the phone, being like, "You're early, you don't know." And we grew up with kind of cell phones and social media, and I thought, oh, I'm so late. There is no way that we ever make an impact on social media. We got Gary Vee yelling at me to go live my life and then take the shot. And I remember doing our first post, and it was like this. I did it on Canva or something like that by myself, and it was a slow progression. And luckily we had people who knew much more than us, who believed in us, and our producer Peter, who's been with us the whole time to help us do all this stuff. But it's such an easy concept to understand. You just got to invest in telling people and providing value to people, and it'll come back to you. But when you're first in the industry, I don't know why it is, but it is the most difficult thing in the world to be able to invest in creating value for people. Right? Maybe it's just like giving it away and the thought process of it all. But I remember just being an agent, and we've told every single one of the agents Aaron and I have ever had to shoot content and provide it. But the consistency around it, as you said, the investment in creating an ecosystem that's real and it's not fake. It's not some gimmicky come and work with me right now because it's.
And then 6 months later, I have to flee the country.
Well, that's it. You have
it
to.
feels like such an unsexy topic to talk about too, right? I get realtors where look at this sick mansion, look at this sick apartment building.
Yeah.
You have something
visually stimulating.
You can look at it, but you're just sitting here, you're talking about
look at this capital stack, guys.
look
It's
at these
beautiful.
numbers.
Yeah.
There were some videos that Josh and I first did, and we were sitting there and we were just breaking down numbers, and I'm like, dude, no one wants to watch this. No one cares.
But
Little
now,
did we know.
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah.
And it did. Yeah, it worked out.
The Canadian market, again, I don't think you realize until you're in it, but it's so unsaturated. The people who are putting high level content out on a specific topic, especially a niche topic, there's really nobody in Canada.
Yeah.
We have one of the largest countries in the world, huge amount of people, probably one of the most frothiest, hot real estate markets on earth, and nobody creates content around, helping people do that. So,
Yeah.
I think the stars kind of aligned when we first got in the business and we first started making content, but we're really happy with where it is at and
Thank God for
growing
COVID, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I think COVID really, it was obviously messed a lot of people up in a lot of different ways, but for me, there was really two people that handled COVID, and I can almost split them directly down. It was the people that leaned into it, and life was, am I allowed to swear? Life was a bit shittier.
Yeah.
Life was shittier afterwards, and it was a bit of victim mentality. And then there were people like everyone in this room that was like, okay, no, I'm using this to my advantage, and I'm turning up the dials on everything. And I think real estate, obviously being, our world and our echo chamber, I saw a lot of people do things they shouldn't have, and I saw some people be very strategic and pragmatic, and even the people that did what they shouldn't have made a ton of money for a little while, but that party came to an end very, very quickly.
Yeah, they're all back to work now.
They're all back to work now. They're out of the industry,
or they're mortgage agents.
or they're calling guys like us, being like, hey, I am in a desperate, my appraisal came back, and $1 million of equity has disappeared. What do I do? And it's unfortunate to see, but this goes back to that providing real content and providing real value, because if you had just been listening to us, who weren't trying to sell you anything, or just giving you great information for free, you know, you wouldn't have done that. But greed can be a very powerful drug for a lot of people. And when people see free money or easy money floating around, that's dangerous. And you know, easy free money and real estate should not be in the same sentence.
No. Well, COVID presented an opportunity to a lot of individuals because there was a lot of people who took COVID as like a break and a freedom and like, well, no one else is doing anything. The world's like shut down. I don't have to do anything. And like, you know, there was a point where Josh and I, for like the first part of COVID, like we were answering like a slightly different Call of Duty. And up into like March of that first year, like, you know, we were like, okay, kind of the Gary Vee thing, like, you know, hey, like all of your like competition has pulled back, like the field isn't saturated. Like now is the opportunity for, you know, like us to make the name. And that's when we decided, you know, to start shooting videos and doing the content. And then that first year it was, you know, shoot the content, sucked for like a little bit, getting used to it, like very awkward. And then by 2021, it was like, not how do we find business? It was like, how do we handle the amount of like inflow that we now have? And, you know, then we made the decision to hire an assistant, I think like late 2020 to kind of manage that. And
Growth.
It was like, okay, we don't need leads anymore. It's just like, let's just manage it and get it all serviced. And that honestly, like, I think probably this is the first year where we've been like, okay, yeah, maybe we should start like doing some like cold calls or doing some like actual a little bit more marketing, because like it's been so social media based for the last 5 years now that and then referral based out of that. But this is the first time I think either of us has not like felt like we need to, but like, okay, hey, like we're at a point now where I guess we could kind of find some other ways to do some reach out and stuff like that and kind of like expand. And we've gone in a bit of a different direction than when we started out with res side investors and home buyers and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that boom of social media over COVID was really what spurred our business. There was no cold calls. There was no like, I mean, we had some realtors and stuff, but we never had to rely on any of that stuff, which is crazy, because I think that's a really completely different route where a lot of other probably mortgage professionals have started and
well, I think it's a route that everyone wants to do in theory. Right, it's that thing like, oh, I'll just start making videos.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Right. First of all, just do it. First of all, and then okay, then you realize that just making videos isn't as easy as just making videos. Then you start looking at the subject matter of that kind of stuff, right? Like I always try to go in with intention with everything I do. So whether it's a networking event, I'm going in with intention. Whether it's a deal or a meeting. But especially for anything social media, whether it be podcasts or YouTube videos or short form stuff on Instagram or TikTok, who's going to watch it? What are they getting out of it? Why are they watching it? What are they doing afterwards? Is there a CTA, a call to action in any of this stuff? And with that CTA, you don't want it to be all CTA, like, you know, manja, give me your business kind of thing, right? You got to do it in a way where it is just value driven and value led.
Yep.
And it's almost like just putting that good effort, that good karma, that positive stuff out there. And as you guys said, you know, you guys are the prime example of, hey, we put it out there and the input and output have lined up completely, right? Look at the inflow of business you guys have had from that. But that's because you guys are putting out real content, you're doing it consistently, and you're doing it in a way that's not like, you know, gatekeeping the stuff. You're gatekeeping just enough where it's like, hey, we'll tell you how to do it all online. You can copy everything we've ever done. You can download the transcripts. You can try to put it all together. But why are you going to do that?
It's so complicated.
It's so complicated.
Complicated for most.
It's complicated for you guys.
Yeah.
You guys do it day in and day out.
It was a lot of time. I mean, like when we were first shooting videos, like it was every other Saturday, 8 hours for sure, shooting every other weekend. Just making videos and then live streams every like Thursday or Friday. Like there was a lot of time it was exhausting.
I think it's hard to really put into words how much effort it fundamentally took to get through the first few years of really pushing content. Like,
well, it took almost a full year of shooting videos
like every week.
Like what I guess two weekends. Well, yeah, I guess every week we were doing some sort of content thing for 2 years before it really took off. Definitely 1 year before we noticed like a return, but yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see where things go, you know, like your digital identity and like what that looks like for future brokers. I mean, we're realistically pretty young in regards to, you know, the people in our industry, and a lot of them are going to be, you know, transitioning and moving out and retiring. A lot of them did extremely well over the last 20 years.
They better have.
I agree. I agree.
You didn't do well over the last 20 years. Have a tough look in the mirror, all right? Because
If you didn't do well, you're probably really grumpy.
yeah.
But it's gonna be interesting to see the new version of broker and what it takes to become like relevant in today's society or tomorrow's society. I think that those like organic groups that you guys are building and those places that people want to be and don't necessarily need to pay to be at, or like places where you can go and get information without necessarily needing to feel like you're being sold something. Like those are going to be the requirements moving forward to be able to make a dent in our market. Previously to that, it was, backdoor, like, oh yeah, my buddy's got a guy, and like that was it. But the market's going to shift.
Or, I mean, it was even just, I remember when I got started in commercial real estate, it was literally just like my boss at the time came up and dropped a stack of buildings and addresses and phone numbers and was like, call them. I was like, what do I say? And he's like, I don't care, figure it out, call them. And, I don't think it works like that anymore. And that was only, 12 years ago kind of thing, right? So it's just crazy to see what has happened in the last decade. And I think you're right, Josh. I think everything's going to get exponentially kind of sped up a little bit, right? So what's going to be the new thing? How are you going to attract new business? The baby boomer population, which the more I learn about them, just every single thing lined up for that generation. Like literally like the baby boomers, they all came back and they all got their driver's license at the same time. So that's when like Ford and Chevy were literally like Detroit was like the richest place in the world because every 17-year-old, every 15-year-old turned that. There was like 4 million people got their driver's license in 1 year. It was like the biggest birth year ever for that.
Yeah.
And, everything else lined up for them, right? The tech bubble, the internet, all this kind of stuff. So now looking at the new generations, what's going to line up for us and how is the baby boomer exodus from not only the professional landscape and environment, but from the real estate, like from the physical assets, how is all that going to transfer out of this, right? So
I think it's AI. I think the only thing realistically that's actually going to line up to the same, respects as what you're talking with the baby boomers is AI. Like, and being able to use that and have like you're the only generation that's going to start out with like unlimited access to anything, knowledge, answers, whatever. Like it's all like, people say we had it at our fingertips, right? Oh, you have Google, you have that. Like, no, like people who are growing up from day one and have ChatGPT and AI, like that is the linear advancement.
They might be brainless though. Like imagine like not having.
You
to
might
think,
just be
though.
prompters. You might literally just be prompters.
But
Like,
I find myself even like not having to think anymore. You know, like a complex thing. You put it like instead of trying to think about the answer to the question, I just ask the question and it's answered
Put
for
this
me.
in,
Like
It's
give me,
application and it's going to come down to like how do you apply it and how do you get the information. I think that's going to be the new courses is a prompts, like how do you actually work AI to get what you need, and then what is the application of it. I mean, like I think businesses are going to change now where like people are going to start opening law firms, and you're not going to be a lawyer, but you're going to know how to apply. I mean, you might still be lawyers, but maybe just for legal reasons, but you're not going to have to have paralegals. You're not going to have the work. It's going to be, AI is going to be able to sift through this stuff. You're going to have people now, I think you're almost going to get back to like more businesses, because you're going to be able to open businesses without necessarily having to have the experience to do it, because you're going to have, AI is going to get to a point where it's going to be able to do everything without any issues. It's going to be 99.999% accurate. It's going to grow, and you're just going to be able to open businesses without really any knowledge. You get your marketing done. It's going to be done by AI. You're going to have all your staff and employees. 98% of it's going to be, AI. You're going to have engineers in IT to manage and maintain the frameworks and all that stuff. But you're going to be able to just open businesses. And I mean, what even a great opportunity now to buy pre-existing businesses, come in, clean house, implement AI, and just like explode it based off pre-existing, business base. But I think that's kind of where it's going to go. Like,
yeah, I completely agree. And I think if I can kind of play both sides of that, because I know, Aaron, probably what you're saying is probably freaking some people out, being like, well, what the hell does that mean for me? Like, where,
get a trade job.
what? Yeah, but then I look at, like one of the things I find fascinating is the difference between EQ and IQ, right? Like, okay, IQ, you're very smart, you're book smart, whatever. EQ is emotional intelligence. As we just said earlier, this entire business is people. Yes, we deal in numbers and we deal in doors and cap rates and roof repairs and duplexes and 10 units and all that kind of stuff. That's real estate. But within real estate, I always say there's two sides to real estate. There's the number side, and then there's the human side. Okay, and they usually don't work with each other, because if you could have a building on paper that makes complete sense from a capital stack perspective, makes complete sense from a cap rate perspective, it all looks good. You put the wrong people in there managing it, you put the wrong tenants in there, you put the wrong mortgage broker or real estate agent on there, and the human element can actually fuck that up way worse than the numbers could. Yep. And the human element is really all down to EQ, right? Because it all comes down to relationships, which I think is, if anyone listening to this and you're wondering, okay, what do I work on? Yeah, maybe work on some ChatGPT prompts, but work on communication.
Absolutely.
Work on communication.
It's never going to replace the business development side, but that's where like the application side comes of it, right?
Exactly.
Is how can you market your firm, right? Like, I had this AI team and blah, blah, blah. Like, how do you, like, it's not going to get clients for you, but you got to be able to apply that AI, that technology in the conversation, in the business development. You got to be able to sell it. So I agree with you for sure. I think like the IQ and the EQ essentially comes into like, you know, how do you input the prompts, and then how do you apply that to your actual business?
And then how do you go and communicate those genius prompts that we didn't have to think about? How do you go and communicate that?
Because everyone's going to have it at that point.
Exactly.
Everyone's going to be, well, my firm has AI. Everyone's firm has AI. Why are you better? What is it? And it's still going to be the same premise.
Like the early days of Excel, it's like, well, we've got Excel, guys. It's just like, oh my God.
Have you seen this?
Yeah, it's incredible.
People are still going to do business with the people that they like the most. It's still going to
the people that make them feel
aspect
comfortable,
to
to make them feel trusted and heard, and you know that I can. Yes, okay, you can go put the same ChatGPT prompt in and get the same answer I can, but I can explain it to you and I can make you feel comfortable
and
about.
It's going to be the exact same answers because it's going to be all the exact same.
It's just analytical. You know, there's no like forward-looking thinking. It might be deep dive into like the correct answer, but it won't be the relationship you have with a bank who maybe can do something else that maybe the correct answer isn't. You know, like
so sales is going to become even more important in the future
so.
Because
couldn't agree
everyone's
more.
going to be spewing 90. Like it's all the answers are going to be 100% the same. It's all come from the same source.
Yeah.
From the same algo.
So who do you want to work with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think you take a look at like even the previous generation. If my sisters are listening to this, I apologize, but like you know, like you take a look at their ability to be able to problem solve in real time with people versus like, you know, when I was a kid, you look in their eyes, you shake their hand, you know, that you have personable communication between somebody. And like, there's a whole generation who grew up with an iPad who doesn't have that anymore. And
Text me. Don't call me.
Yeah,
Text me.
yeah. Like I hate that. No,
I can't look at you in the eyes. I'm like, meet my eye line. All right. Yeah.
Those are going to be the skills that truly, you know, you can't learn in school, but are going to be extremely valuable, at least in the brokering world.
Yeah, and I'd take it even further than that. I'd say any business that's not, let's say, we're like a Shopify store where you don't have to see anybody or do anything. Any business where there's any kind of client-facing, front-facing, presentation, event, social media, anything where you as a person are part of that sales package, whatever you want to call it. That's all EQ. That's all going to be communication. That's all going to be presentation, and that all has to be done by leading with value. So I'm not worried about AI like everyone else is. I think the more that we can adapt it into our systems and processes, probably the easier our lives are going to be. Because I know like what we do is quite complicated. I'm much better at the relationship side than the complicated back end side. So I'm looking at this as like, hell yeah, bring it on. Let's get the eye in.
Dan is in trouble, is what you're saying.
Well, hopefully, I don't think he listens to this show. So
perfect. Dan will know if you listen or not now.
No, I agree. Like the sociable person is going to be fine because you're going to be able to market a business. You're going to be able to build the relationships. But if you're not comfortable FaceTiming and going to events and putting it on and driving the business, you're going to get outperformed because the IQ level is going to be the same for everybody.
Yeah.
The IQ level is going to be, everyone's going to have the same access.
Everyone's got access to this superpower. Yeah.
AI is going to become the cog, and everyone's going to be able to just put a system together, right? But again, it's going to be, can you actually drive the business there? And if you're not comfortable talking to people, you're going to get very, very outperformed by the people who can do it.
You know, tying it in back into real estate, it's you know, I've gone down the rabbit hole kind of a step further. You think about, AGI, and you hear about Sam Altman, you hear about all these different people who are pushing the envelope of artificial intelligence and where things are going to go. And I've had a few conversations with developers and real estate investors about this because OpenAI is actually also just completed one of the largest studies on UBI in history, which is Universal Basic Income. And what happens when AI is so powerful that not to in the distant future, it does take a significant amount of jobs away. And how does that impact real estate as a whole? And I've been having a few conversations with guys who are a little skeptical about what that looks like. Universal Basic Income gets rolled out. You've heard Sam Altman talk, and he's talking about not if
when
it's going to happen, but when it's going to happen.
So is Peter Thiel, or a bunch of those kind of
smartest people of our generation in our time are talking about how are these social constructs going to actually change the world. And I think as an investor, it's important to also take a look at the technology that's coming and the ramifications of what that looks like. If we do have UBI, rentals probably get subsidized.
Purpose-built rentals. Maybe.
Yeah, well,
that's a good. Hey,
nothing better than government-backed rents.
Yeah. I have thought about this pretty deeply.
I can tell you.
But realistically though, if you have some sort of universal basic income as a developer, what does that look like for your investment moving forward? Does part of it get subsidized? What kind of housing do you want to build? Probably mid-market housing, something that would be in the band of being subsidized for the majority of the population.
For sure. Old folks' homes, right? That kind of stuff. Childcare.
Those are all questions that if you're looking past 10 years from now, you need to be asking yourself, how does this work?
And let's be clear, anyone investing in real estate should have that 5, 10 plus year horizon, right? Especially if you're doing any CMHD stuff. You might be having that 40-year horizon, right? So
could be 50 years.
Maybe 50 years, you'd be a popular grandfather. No, I completely agree, man. I think that I think that people should be, you look back, history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. Look back when the Industrial Revolution happened, right? People were terrified. And then it was like, it's actually made our lives way better. There's not 8-year-old chimney sweeps and child labor in the Ford Model T plant. And
we just sent it to China. It's okay.
Yeah, well, that too. And then there's the technology revolution back in, in Y2K. I'm old enough to remember the year 2000. I remember the New Year's party I was at. I was 10, but and everyone was like, "Oh wow, the world didn't end." And this is just that next piece where it's this is the next revolution. I'm not saying go all in on AI. It's still very early, but it's moving very fast. What I'm saying is don't let it scare you and don't get freaked out. And if you are in this space, which you likely are because you're listening to this podcast, figure out how to utilize it and then hone in and master the skills that AI will never take away from you.
Mm-hmm.
So utilize it. Don't let it,
I think there's
take away from you.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's still going to come down to how you market it and your ability to develop the business. I think there is something to be said about again, just with I think we underestimate how quickly AI is really going to start to
I heard a stat. The last 100 years of growth we just had, we're going to have in the next 10.
Yeah.
So it's that, the universe thing, right? Where it's well,
because we don't even have quantum computing yet. So I mean, and then they're getting there. I think once you have quantum computing, your parabolic growth becomes a new, they're going to invent a new shape. Because it's going to grow so fast, right? I mean, we can't even comprehend. I mean, the most of us can't comprehend how fast quantum computing is going to be. And then when you take that and you put that into AI, once that is there, the knowledge learning is going to be unfathomable. And I think there is going to be a little bit of a first in. I think it's going to be a small percentage in terms of dictating who's going to be successful. I think the rest of it's going to be maybe 5% first in, 95 who can apply it better. But I think if you're good at applying it and you're first in, it's good. That is really the secret.
That's your
formula
hedge.
is, first in and just be good at selling it. If you're an entrepreneur and you can figure out AI, it's for your competition, it's almost game over at this point.
For sure. I think anything early adoption wise comes with both kind of extreme opportunity, but also extreme challenges, right? I mean, to take it back to real estate, if we want to look at the early adopters of the multiplexing space, across Canada, pick a city, whether it's Vancouver, Edmonton, or Toronto, for instance. We know a lot of those guys in that space. We work with a lot of them. We're friends with a lot of them. And, the frustration I hear from some of these guys is is crazy, right? Early adopters dealing with the city, dealing with the planners, dealing with zoning, dealing with the million and one stupid studies that you have to get, tree studies and environmentals and all this stuff for something that should be very easy and make a lot of sense. If you can, just like with anything, if you can push through that bullshit for whatever allotted amount of time it takes as an early adopter, by the time the masses kind of figure out, oh, I can make money in sixplexing a single family property here in Toronto, you already, that your hedge is, I've done it for years. I know the best sites. I had the best people. I've got a guy in City Hall, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I think with everything there, you know, think about the first people that were on the early side of the boom of the pre-con space, right? Like any space will have that initial early adoption. Some people will struggle, some people will do really well, and people start to get, you know, take notice of it, and then more and more people come in, and then it just becomes another thing. Yeah. Right. So if you can be that early adopter and get through it, do it.
Yeah. Like I say, like I think we're mid, you know, like curve for like development in GTA specifically. Like now that 6 stories has been, you know, like approved on you know, the right of use for certain streets. DC charges are like getting paused on some of these smaller developments. Like I think once that starts catching on, like the land value is going to go up, right? So I mean, if you can get in now and at least get into the land, like realtors are going to start to oversell properties, right? I mean, we saw it like during COVID too.
They'd
like,
never do that.
No, never. You guys are too faithful to the community. But we saw it during COVID where, you know, cap rates were so compressed because rates were so compressed that realtors were selling, you know, like half vacant buildings. Okay, you know, yeah, you might sell this at like a 6 cap, but hey, the buyer's going to buy it and you're selling it at 5 million. We know that they're going to come in and they're going to turn over all these rents and fill these vacancies, and it's going to be worth 8 million. So we should go for 6.5. And like people are still holding on to those like COVID prices on a lot of apartment buildings. And I think we're about to see that on land in the GTA too, where, hey, you have a, you know, $1.8 million single family home on a really solid transit street in Toronto. Well, you know, someone's going to come in and build a 6-story building and that's going to be worth, you know, $15 million. Yeah. So you should sell this for like $4 million. Yeah. Like it, whether or not that specific number, but we're going to start to see that. Well,
we've been seeing that in Vancouver for years, right? Where it's like, you know, some literal crack house on like on a lot, but it's like, you know, off of Maine or off of Granville or something like that. And it's just like, oh yeah, this thing, it's inhabitable, but it's for sale for $3.5 million. Yeah. You're buying zoning. You're buying zoning rights at that point. You're buying land and zoning. Exactly. And I think that's something that, you know, I try to teach as many people as possible. I love that you said that, because highest and best use, that can be applied to so many things in real estate. One, it should be applied to your power team. What is the highest and best use of each individual on your power team? What is your highest and best use, right, of your time, of your energy, of your capital? What is the highest and best use of the land and the ability to build as much as possible on it? Because the highest use might not always be the best use, right? So it really comes down to that understanding of the numbers and understanding of what you're good at, and that kind of goes back to who, not how, which is why I think that's super important for I think that's probably the most important principle in real estate, because you need so many different people to get a transaction done. Right? An appraiser, an inspector, a lawyer, an accountant, a mortgage broker, a real estate agent, a property manager, right? Those are just the ones that come off the top of my head right there. There's at least a couple more. And as you grow and scale, those people will all change as well. You need a commercial appraiser, you know, a commercial inspector, a commercial mortgage broker, a commercial real estate agent, you know, an environmental assessment person, right? All these types of things. So I think that anyone who is either starting their career or leveling up their real estate career, that's the thing you need to be thinking about the most is, what am I good at? How do I really focus on that? And how do I attract and pull in and maintain relationships with the people that are going to be doing the best thing that they're at, right? I mean, you guys are literally the best at what you do, but you're not out there doing appraisals. You're not out there, you know, doing the property management. You've got other people do that stuff. And of course you do, because it'd be stupid if you guys did it.
Yeah, absolutely. Highest and best use of your time is, you know, unfortunately, it's difficult to understand that until you're in it and you start to value your time.
You got to do it. You got to do it first. You're not going to walk in and have another.
Figure out what you're good at and what you're bad
at. Exactly. And so I've got this thing where it's like you say yes to everything until you earn the right to say no. Like I remember for years, I would say yes to everything, every opportunity, every meeting, every phone call, every cold call,
Which you
anything.
should when you're first starting.
Which
out.
you should,
Yes,
exactly.
absolutely.
And because you don't know who you're going to meet, you don't know what opportunity is going to come across the table, good, bad, and ugly. Okay, I've learned more stuff from some of the bad deals or some of the stuff that's gone south or some of the stuff that I've gotten screwed on than I have from the good, easy deals, because the good, easy deals are just good and easy,
you don't
right?
learn
Like what do you
anything
like?
from
You're just
good
like
and easy,
that's it, okay, amazing. But it's when shit hits the fan that you're
Actually,
like,
probably worse.
Yeah,
for you.
God,
they are, yeah. If you're only doing good, easy deals, like get ready because something's gonna happen. But
if you're listening, God, I'll take a few.
Yeah.
yeah, I would love a good, easy deal right
Mortgage
now.
gods can pump some our way. That'd be
Yeah,
crazy,
yeah.
That's
It's like a nice 100 million easy close.
That'd be nice.
That'd be great.
Take a month off.
95% loan to
Yeah.
value, great debt servicing. That'd be great.
That is absolutely hilarious. Well, it looks like we are just wrapping up. Nick, always a pleasure, brother. You know, it is great to have somebody who's also pushing the needle in so many different directions in our
Thank you.
space.
Thank you.
It's refreshing, and it's nice knowing that there's other younger guys out there who are also pushing the needle and growing what we currently doing. If people want to reach out to you, want to connect with you, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And before I kind of plug myself here, I'm gonna throw that compliment right back on you guys. Nothing but respect and admiration for what you guys are constantly doing. For those that don't know, we've teamed up with the two of you. You guys help us host events. You guys speak at events. We're working on deals together. It's awesome, and I'm all about that kind of collaboration of the next generation. And that's how we've built out a lot of stuff we're doing. So we've got the podcast. Please go check that out, Canadian Real Estate Investor. We have free meetups across the country, second Tuesday of every month, with over 10,000 people in our national meetup group. I'm easy to find on Instagram. My buddy Nick, you add me, we're buddies. And that's pretty much it. Go check out the podcast. Shoot me a DM on Instagram if you're interested in getting some work done.
Highly recommend, guys, if you guys are looking to connect with people in real estate, these meetups are in basically every major city in the country. It doesn't matter if you're out east, out west, in central GTA, they are everywhere. So hit us up. We are happy to point you in the right direction. Nick, always a pleasure.
Thanks so much, fellas.